Okay. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you located?
So I live in Pennsylvania. Let me
Oh,
turn on
okay.
my noise canceling thing there. Wow. Oh my God. I've never had the adaptive noise canceling before. This is like blowing my mind. Um, I live in Pennsylvania. I'm currently on tour right now, so I'm in
Oh,
Covington, Kentucky. I'm right across the bridge from Cincinnati.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Busy, busy. Well, we already knew that though. You're a busy, busy, busy person.
Yeah, yeah, trying.
Trying and succeeding.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you ever have a minute to breathe?
Uh, I mean, yeah. Look, I'm a guitar player for a living. So, and I'm fortunate enough to play in a band that's pretty successful in their own right. So, like I have a guitar tech and we have a full crew and whatever. So, like my work day is like 2:30 to 3:30 for sound check and then like 9 to just after 10 p.m. for the show. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I can't
fair.
really I can't really like bitch too much. I mean, I do all the time, but I'm tired, but like I'm not actually one of the people that's doing a whole lot. So I don't have much of a leg to stand on in that regard.
That's fair. That's fair. Um, so what made you decide to, because you are a guitar player, you've been playing guitar for a long time and a lot of different projects, some very, very big projects. Sorry, my son, like as soon as I hopped on, the sun decided to peek out. It's been cloudy all day, but now it's like in my face.
Oh, I mean, I'm jealous. It is so cold and gray here in Kentucky that the
That's how
seasonal
it has
depression is
been.
kicking in.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that is a very common thing. I'm actually a mental health therapist. And
Oh,
I
wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I have a lot of clients that suffer from it. And the last few years, I've even struggled with it. And that's not something I usually have in the past. But it has been great here for days and days. But for whatever reason, the sun's decided to shine for at least a few minutes.
It
Like
knew
the
you
past,
needed it knew you needed the lighting for the camera
right?
angle.
It's like, let me help
Yeah.
you. Uh, but yeah, you have been playing guitar for a long time, but decided that you wanted to get in front of the mic. How big of a difference has that been for you? Because I'm sure I mean, in so many different aspects, a totally different thing.
Yeah, monumentally different. And honestly, like when the whole thing started, I wasn't sure what role I was going to play because the first song that started the whole thing was I originally wrote for another band that I was playing guitar for. So, when that didn't work out and it was like, okay, well, I don't really think the singer of that other band is going to be going anywhere. And, Maddie wants to do something with this and whatever. I just recorded. Like I knew I could sing, but I never really thought about doing the front man thing because I like a lot of people, I don't really like the sound of my own voice a lot. So I had never bothered with it very much. I had just done like, backing vocals and harmonies and stuff, but I re-recorded the vocals and then just sent both files to him and then to some other people. It didn't say names, it was just singer one and singer two, and whichever one I was, I can't remember, but the most of the feedback that I got wound up being in favor of my take. So I was like, huh, well, like
Uh-oh.
the evidence is damning. But it's definitely like when we shot the music videos, it definitely helped um sort of, especially the sycophants video, where we were all just being like super goofy, like that helped me kind of like come out of my shell a little bit and just like let the charisma flow a little bit. But it's definitely like I'm not used to not having a guitar in my hands when
You're
we
like,
do
what do
our
I
first
do with
show.
these?
Yeah, and when we do our first show in December, like I'm 100% gonna have to script what I say, like as if I'm doing a comedy show or something, like because I like if I just go up there and like, yeah, I'll just wing it, like I will implode, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's gonna be a whole learning curve for sure. I mean, you can even tell with the few music videos because Sycophants was actually the last one that we shot of those first three. So we did Gaps, Temple, and Tomb, and then Sycophants. And in Gaps and Temple and Tomb, I am holding the mic stand. I'm barely facing the camera. Like I'm trying to just like be a performer instead of like, like be interactive. And then Sycophants, just because I had like I knew what I wanted the video to look like, and I was like, there's no way to make it look like that unless I deliver. So I was like, all right, like let's just do it. And I wish we had done that video first
Oh,
because like if well, I don't know because like if we had done it first, maybe I would have been too nervous to do what I wanted to do. But if I had just,
mm,
you know, sacked up and done it, like then maybe the other two videos would have had some more movement or some more interaction on my end or whatever. So um I'm happy with the way that the videos came out, but that definitely is kind of like a personal note. Oh no, what did I do?
I can still
Oh,
see it. Hear you.
okay, I just opened a dude, every time something these headphones control shit. So I I hit the wrong thing and then iTunes popped up or
Oh
something.
my gosh. They're like,
Yeah, so I
you
thought
want to listen to the song?
I thought I hung up on you. So I was like,
Oh,
fuck. But yeah, so the learning how to be a front man and the when everything started launching and because I don't really participate in social media too much. I have other people that pay money to post things for me and stuff so that I don't have to be involved. But
smart.
um when when it was time to like, okay, I understand like content has to be a thing. I like asked the other guys, like, all right, like you got your fingers on the pulse, like you follow a bunch of people, you're on TikTok, you know how all this shit works. Like, what do we need? Like, what's the kind of content that I gotta make? And they're like, you're not gonna like this.
You're
Like,
gonna have to be the
uh,
face all the time.
yeah, they're like, you're the singer. It's got to be you the whole
Yeah.
time. You got to be lip syncing everything, like every single day. Like what? I'm like, okay, so like on that in that regard, I definitely was like, I didn't think this through, but I mean, but at the same time, like I'm very happy with how things are going, and it was writing all of these songs was like a very like personally cathartic process for me that I hadn't experienced until this point, and so like there's a lot of positives coming out from it, and like I am looking forward to taking on that role. It's just very new and very scary.
Learning curve for sure. Well, you do have some really positive lyrics, which I appreciate. It reminds me a little bit of like Jesse Leach, where you feel that hope and that almost comfort, you do very well with that. What are
Thank you.
some what have you always written, first of all, as far as like poetry or just songs in general? Because music is
No,
obviously usually your
so
thing.
yeah, so that's the thing is like all the writing that I've done, whether it's for my own bands or for other people, it's always been instrumental stuff.
Mhm.
That's always been what I consider to be my forte. I never thought I was very good at writing lyrics or vocal melodies or anything like that. I because I came from like the death metal progressive kind of like super heavy world, so all of those lyrics are usually fairly like if they're not they're it's like kind of one of two things for the most part. It's either like really brutal, which I've never had like a big interest in, or it's like very intellectual, a lot of metaphor, a lot of ambiguity, and so my anytime I would try to write lyrics, that's like where my brain would go, would be to try to do something like that. But it always just felt really like disingenuous. Like it felt like I was trying to sound smart,
Hmm.
and when you're clearly trying to sound smart, you sound like an idiot. So
Right.
um so I just kind of kept myself away from that. But when I wrote Gaps, I'm not entirely sure what did it. I think it was just because I knew I was writing a radio song and I knew or a song that like I would ideally like to hear on the radio, and that at the time originally I wasn't going to be the one singing it. You know what I mean? So like I didn't have that I think it was that I didn't have that self-consciousness of like, oh, like I sound stupid saying this. I was just thinking of like what words flow together and what, you know what I mean? And so then once it became like, oh no, I'm gonna sing for this, it was like, oh, well, I just did that.
Hmm.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So that and and then going forward from there was just like I realized that the pretty much the only way I'm able to write, lyrics that are even remotely good or lyrics that don't make me cringe very much, um, is to be is like to like basically take as much metaphor out of it as humanly possible. Just like super on the nose, like I'm mad at you. You know what I mean? Like, and or whatever it is, and so it's usually talking about, like me or my life, something that I've experienced, something that has pissed me off, or in, whatever the emotion is. But it's just like when I was kind of diving into, the sort of radio rock area of things, like I was like, oh, you don't have to do metaphors and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
a lot of these bands just say go fuck yourself a lot. You know what I mean? So like I can just say that if I want to. Um, so that was like, weirdly sort of liberating. Is like I guess I hadn't realized that there were so few like parameters that I
Yeah.
was stuck within, and I could just kind of say what I thought, which definitely helped because I have a lot of experience. Luckily, I don't do it anymore, but I have a lot of experience arguing with people on Facebook. So,
Is
I
that why you
got
stay away
really
from social media now?
part of it, a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a large portion of a certain presidency just angry about everything. And afterwards I was like, I can't do this anymore, dude.
Yeah.
I just, but, like, yeah, p political, social, musical, fucking pop culture, whatever, like it didn't matter. Like I got real good at just obliterating people with
Oh,
two hands, just tick, 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 tick. Um, and so like in a weird way, I think that sort of helped because it was like, oh, like I can just say like what's in my head. You know what I mean? It's like
argue with
I'm really
anybody.
good
You
at
just get
that.
to put it out there, right? I
Yeah.
just put it
Yeah,
out there, and people don't
exactly.
even have, people can't even. I mean, I guess they can comment back, but
Right. Yeah, so it's like, oh, I'm good at that. You know what I mean? Like I'm good at just spewing my own bullshit. We could just do this.
oh my gosh. Well, it's funny though. It's funny that you explain it that way because I take it in a totally different direction. I take it as like uh, and maybe that's the genuineness behind it, plus just the duality of being a human. It's not all sunshine and roses, but there is a lot of positivity in your lyrics too, though. I feel
I
like.
mean, I think so if now, granted, I'm not constantly reading my own lyrics, so I'm probably forgetting some, but like
The
Gaps is
last
a
one.
Gaps is a positive song, and the new one, This Time Tomorrow, is a very positive one. I'm pretty sure every other song, Sycophants is a more upbeat sounding song, but it's very sarcastic. I literally flip off the camera multiple times in the video. So it's definitely not a positive um connotation lyrically, but it's not as like this sucks, you suck. Like not that much, I suck, not much of that vibe. But yeah, between so this first song was Damn to Dream, that's like everything sucks. The God You Think You Are, that's like you suck. And then Temple and Tomb, it's I suck, you know. Um so definitely a lot of negativity, but like but similarly to the negativity of things like with Gaps, that was about it was originally written to be from the old singer's perspective. He was about to have a kid, but I have two kids. So it's the perspective of the parent of like basically like you lead the way now. You know what I mean? Like I'm following you, I'm following you. Um and This Time Tomorrow is like sort of the sort of conclusion of this first body of work, where it's like there's been so much like kind of venting and basically me just using a microphone as my therapist, and sort of looking at it from like a healthy perspective and being like, all right, like that's all that way, we're looking this way now, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it all comes back to just like like authentic to personal experience and things like that. Apparently, I'm pretty good at talking about myself, I guess. So,
Well, I mean, you gotta trust the expert, right? You
right,
can't
right,
talk
yeah.
about other
I know
people.
Yeah, I know a lot about me. I've got a lot of dirt on me. So
Letting out all the demons. So you're
yeah.
doing singles. Again, you guys are all busy in other projects, but you're doing singles. Is there, I assume there's a plan to either put them all together into eventually a full-length album or for yeah, that to eventually come into fruition.
Yeah. So that definitely was the plan. Like I had the full intention of, releasing a bunch of singles and then making it a record. At a certain point when I realized like this is probably about the time that we should announce the record, I was like, we don't have anything in place for that. Like, because you want to have like merch bundles and a real good PR campaign going and have a lot, a good marketing budget and all kinds of stuff. And we just weren't there yet. I think this year has been a big kind of proof of concept project for this. Because like to a certain degree, I think we all wondered if this was just going to be something where, you had that cool idea with some of your friends and then nothing happened. So,
Yeah.
you don't want to be tens of thousands of dollars in the hole, because we're all independent right now. So, you don't want to just be dumping all of your own money into something and then have the whole thing fall apart because, nobody cares or nobody likes it or everyone leaves or whatever the fuck. So, um uh when it came time to like, all right, I would like to start moving towards a record, it was clear that the timing wasn't right. So that is still on the radar. Whether that will be, all of the songs that have been out thus far with the few that haven't been released, falling in reverse style, or, there is new material coming out, or not, well, there's new material being written and recorded. Right now, do we just wait to do that? Is there going to be a label involved at any point? Like, if there is new material, do we combine that with the old material? Because then it's not really part of the same thing. And because I already had an album name picked out, but like, is that going to apply here? You know what I mean? Like, there's all these weird kind of creative conversations to be had now, when it comes to that. So it's kind of nebulous at the moment,
Are you an
in terms of
overthinker?
100%. I didn't realize I'd be talking to a psychotherapist when I hopped on this call. But
No, I could just tell just human to human. I
I'll
am
get
too,
I'll get
so I feel
I'll
it.
get some solid diagnoses out of you, on this interview. Just like just like tell me if I'm a sociopath, tell me if I'm autistic. Those are the two things that I've been suspicious of for a while. But
And sociopath. Click.
um, yeah, so yeah, just but I'm 100% an overthinker. But it's also just something where like when you're starting a new band in your 30s, there's like an inherent like scary, like there's fear involved there because like you're going back to the drawing board. We've all been touring for a very long time. We've all made it to a certain level. I'm in my own hotel room. I came here on a bus. I have a day off on tour. Like that's a big thing. And I'm still getting paid on my day off,
Yeah, awesome.
Um, like that's not a lot of people get to say that they do that, and not a lot of people get to say like, yeah, I work for like 1 or 2 hours a day. um so to be starting something new, like you want to make sure that you're not like half-assing it. You don't want to do it you want to do it the right way. You want to execute things properly. You want to make sure that you have a plan going into it. Like you don't just want to, like there's already a certain amount of kind of throwing darts at the wall with like, are people going to like this? Are people going to like this? You don't want to do that with the actual like logistical and fiscal end of things,
Mhm.
so yeah, so there definitely is a lot of overthinking, but it also is like, wanting to be like calculated with what we do.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, oh, I have a million different directions that I want to go, so I'm trying to figure out which direction I want to go. Um, well, let's go to the live show. You're next month. You're going to be doing a live show for the August Burns Red
Hmm.
festival, Christmas Burns Red. I freaking love August Burns Red. They're so
They're
incredible.
total sweethearts. Yeah,
Yeah,
great
yeah.
guys.
I interviewed Brent quite a while ago, and of course was awesome. But they're just so good live. They're one of the best live shows. They're professionals.
100%.
They used to tour an insane amount of times. Um, So first of all, how did you get onto that? And second of all, how are you feeling about your, because this will be your first live performance as a band, right? As this band,
Yeah.
obviously, not as you.
Sure. Yeah. So as far as getting onto it, that was kind of like the one of the first ideas that I had. Like once the music was all done and we had the music videos planned and like it was like, okay, this is actually gonna happen. Like no one's canceled on me yet. Um, I hit up JB and was like, hey, like I know this is pretty premature, like nothing's out yet, but like I'm launching this new project. It's me and these guys. Like here's the songs that we're gonna be putting out. I'd like to be able to close out the year with a live show just to like bring some like legitimacy to the projects. Like maybe legitimacy might be the wrong word, but it's like proof that it's real, you know,
Yeah.
and not just an internet thing. And he was, to my surprise, he was very, very receptive. And throughout the year, he's been like a really good source of advice on things. And you know, because he and Brent are artist managers as well, so um, it's been really great to kind of have that sort of wealth of knowledge, you know, just a text message away.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, was very, very honest, but also very like enthusiastic and basically saying like one of the things that he said to me, I might be paraphrasing a little bit, but basically he was like this is either a hobby or it's huge. I don't really see a middle ground. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So he was saying to me like you need to decide like what you're ready to do with this, basically. And you know, every person who strives to be in the music industry, whether they admit it or not, there's something in the back of their head that's like, I want to be famous because we're insane. So naturally, I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're just fucking going in, going all in on this and
yeah.
seeing what happens. Um, as far as the preparation goes, that's going to be a time crunch. But honestly, like I'm so happy that we have the group of guys that we have because if we didn't, like I'd be a mess.
Yeah.
Um, because I get the show's on December 13th. I get home on December 6th. Maddie and Jimmy land from an Australian tour on December 11th.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so basically everybody has all the material right now. Everyone's learning and practicing and doing all the stuff on their own while I'm building the session for all of our playback and stuff. And Maddie was kind enough to connect me with From Ashes to News front of house engineer. So they're going to be
Oh,
lending us their whole rig, and he's
oh,
going to be running the show, and
oh, awesome.
I believe their tech is going to be working with us as well. So basically we're going to have a whole team and they're going to have just come off a tour with all the same gear, so it's all going to be dialed and ready to go. It's just plugging in different playback, you know. So, and because we have this group of guys who have been doing this for so long, I don't have any doubts that like
Yeah.
they're gonna know the stuff. You know,
Hmm.
every single one of us has been in like a time crunch situation where it's like you got to learn X amount of songs in way too little time.
Yeah.
I'm very confident in everybody's abilities in that regard. So like I know the show is going to be great. It's just going to be a couple days of like, you know,
Yeah.
like, and by the time, and then we have, you know, 25 minutes to play, and then we're going to be like, that's it, you know.
That right. That's what
It's
that was going to be my next question, how long your set is. So 25-minute set.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're opening the show, so I think it's either
Yeah.
25 or 30 minutes, but it's probably 30 total minutes on stage, which means that you got to start loading off pretty quick.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So, like I said, if we didn't have on one hand, if we didn't have this group of guys, then like, you know, scheduling things would be easier, obviously,
Yeah.
but if I had a whole group of people that had never toured before, and I was landing less than 10 days before the show, I don't know that I'd be able to like be confident that they could have
Yeah.
that together, you
Right.
know. So it's the team is very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in this space. So have you been shocked and surprised by the feedback and by all the views? I mean, you guys are kind of killing it out there.
Well, especially with the last with Temple and Tomb, and now seemingly with how This Time Tomorrow is going to be going, like those have definitely been surprising. The very first song that we put out was really surprising. Um, part of me, this is so semi-related, it's kind of an aside, because like so much of this has been me trying to figure this shit out in real time. And so I think I might have just been fucking up on Spotify for like 4 or 5 songs, like with like not doing the playlist pitching and not doing like the
Um,
normal things that you're supposed to do. Because like the first song that we put out, although you can't playlist pitch your first song as an artist on Spotify. So I don't really know. But the first song was like, it was like, 15,000 streams in the first week or something, which, for a big band, that's nothing. But to a band that's never done anything before, it's like, oh shit, okay, like that's not bad.
yeah.
And then the other songs, like it just kind of felt like we were fighting something, like we weren't hitting the algorithm or people went, but then the music videos would do better than the Spotify streams sometimes, or like, but then Liar was the worst, but that was a total fuck up because basically what happened is the song Sycophants had already been released. It was going for a little bit, and then the release date on the distribution end got messed up for
Mm.
Liar. And so instead of coming, so I think Sycophants came out in September or August, and Liar was supposed to come out in September, but Liar got listed with a September or with an August date.
Oh
So
no.
so it came out prematurely, and then we had to wait 48 hours for them to pull it off of all the streaming services. And then by that point, it had already told the algorithm that there was a new song, so it stopped pushing
Oh,
Sycophants. And then when Liar came back out, it didn't push that because it was like this song's already been released. So like that song
geez.
was a complete flop, which honestly, if there was one song to flop, I would have liked it to be that one anyway. So it's fine. But yeah, so I think like part of me wonders it like how much has been like sort of like learning curve, like technological stuff, and how much of it has been like genuine reception. But the one thing is that like I was expecting way more negative comments than we got. Not that I was expecting it to be the majority, but it's the internet.
Mm,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
right.
And I think
You
I
know
I
that
think
better than anybody, it sounds like.
yes, yeah, yeah, very familiar. Um, and honestly, like the most negative things that we get, which are very few and far between, are like, oh, like the video didn't really do it for me, but the song's great. And it's like, okay, cool. I mean, every once in a while we get a funny one, like, um, what was it? Somebody said, I think it was just, I think it was just 2 sentences. It was just trash, give up. I liked that one. That was funny. Um, but but the thing is, like, I expected a lot more of that.
Mhm.
And
Why
and
did
we
you
haven't
expect
been
more of that? Just because the internet.
yeah, because it's the internet, and because we're this kind of mix. I don't think it's a particularly unique blend, but like we're that kind of like accessible sort of metalcore, sort of radio rock kind of thing. We sort of like stick our feet in both pools. um
Mm,
and a lot of times, especially
mm,
like metal fans are
mhm,
not as receptive to that,
mhm.
that like this, this is like emo pussy shit, you know what I mean?
They'll
And
be
so
like,
like,
"Oh, that those growls are awesome. Those harsh vocals are great." Oh, he started singing. That ruined it.
oh, he started singing gay. Yeah, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
that's yeah. And I've seen a couple of comments like that on like there's been like reaction channels that have covered our stuff, and the deathcore fans are like, oh, this is I think somebody called us a nothing burger. I thought that was kind of funny. Um, but
Lyrical
but like
inspiration.
yeah, right. But like I I I am pleasantly surprised that like even when things would happen, like release dates get messed up or algorithms aren't doing what we expect them or hope them to do, um even when it's like, "Ah, fuck, I feel like the song's kind of flopping," like we're still getting pretty much nothing but positive comments. It just seems
Wow.
to be like fewer people are paying attention when we hit one of those low points. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I mean that could be like literally any number of things. It could be that the song just wasn't for them. It could be that they just forgot about us and some other band that they liked put out a song. I mean, it's been like
Right.
virtually impossible. We had to switch to we had to take our songs off of Friday release dates, because every single Friday that we released something on, like 2 days before the song came out, some big band was like, surprise, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, well, there goes like all of our chance of getting any eyes on this. Um,
Speaking of which, didn't Killswitch just put one out probably close to the same date that you just
very,
put out?
very close, very close. But luckily, like if they had put that out at the same time as Temple and Tomb, I would have been like, God damn it. But this time tomorrow is a very different song.
Very
They were
different.
on Liquid Metal, we are on Octane, like you know, like good. It's enough separation to be, but not that I expect to compete with Killswitch in any regard, you know, but like, but yeah, it was at least like when I saw that they were putting out a new song, all I thought was, oh, cool.
Oh,
You know,
good.
like
Okay.
it wasn't son of a bitch, you know. So, you know, that helps. But yeah, so the response has been fantastic, especially with the last two songs, because like and more so not just like, oh, I really like this song or whatever, but like people saying that they relate to it. That's like when it's actually like, okay, you know, there's a little bit more substance to this. Like there's more to grab onto than just like a, you know, a melodic hook. And it's a kind of a, you know, it's a kind of a weird thing when you write something that somebody is able to connect to their own life, because you're just like, but that's not what it's about. You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean? Like, but you like you have to be able to like be like, no, 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 it's good. It's good. Like there, you know, like, but that's the internet troll in me. Like, actually it's about, you know, like,
Yeah, don't do
uh,
that. You're gonna lose fans.
yeah. Yeah,
No, so
100%.
I don't know if this is something you've thought about or not, but with now with you being so upfront with your lyrics and then being personal, are you prepared as someone who has not had this experience before to have these conversations with fans that are going to come to you and say, this is what's going on in my life and this is why your song spoke to me. How prepared are you for those conversations?
That's the best question I've gotten all day. No joke. Like straight up. Yeah, you nailed that. Honestly, I don't know because there's like I think uh I think I'll be more prepared being the person having written the lyrics,
Mhm.
because in the past I've wound up in those conversations, but it's always been with a band that like I'm just filling in for, or I'm just
Oh,
employed by. You know, my first band was my first tour was with Ricky's old band, This is the Apocalypse. And, you know, there were kids coming up to me like, your band saved my life. And I'm just like, I
oh
didn't do
man.
anything, you know, and you know, played for like a year and a half, you know, filling in with Ice Nine Kills, and people would come up and be like, "Yeah, your song saved my life," and I'm like, I haven't recorded anything, and these songs are about horror movies, so I'm just I don't even know like where to exist in this conversation, you know. I didn't write anything. And like I don't mean that to like throw shade at anybody. It's just something where it's like I have, and I'm not even that big of like a horror movie buff. Like it was just they needed somebody, and Ricky knew me, and so there I was. So like it's like you're talking about a movie that I know nothing about, a band that I just got involved in. You're really opening up to me, and it's really nice, but like I feel horrible because I have nothing to provide in this conversation. You know what I mean? So like it's been very kind of disarming in the past, because like you don't like the last thing you want to do, like of course you just stand there and you're just like, oh, like I'm so, you know, I'm so glad that it helped you, I'm so glad that you're feeling better, I'm so glad, because you are genuinely,
Right.
but like you don't have the heart to be like, you just you picked the wrong guy, like I'm not involved in anything that you love, you know. um I'm not
Allow
responsible
me
for
to show
anything that's
you Hillhaven.
yeah, right, right. Can I interest you in another savior? But yeah, so it's that's different. That's a difficult position to be in, because like you want to just be supportive, but you don't want to take credit for work that isn't yours
Yeah,
either. And you also feel like you feel bad for the person that's expressing these feelings to you, because like it's like a really vulnerable like personal thing to say to somebody, and like I imagine it takes like a lot of courage to just go up to somebody who's like not only a stranger but like somebody who you might view as like up here, you know, if
right.
you like really love their band.
Mhm.
um and to be able to like muster up the social courage, if nothing else, like dude, I can't even go talk to somebody at a party that I don't know, you know what I mean, let
Right.
alone somebody I admire, like. So to be able to muster the courage to go and say those things to somebody and sort of put yourself out there like that, and then to find, and then like if you were to find out that like like that person's not even actually a member of the band. You know what I mean? Like that would be you like if it were me, I'd be like, God, I just fucking blew that, you know? Like I didn't even find the right one, you know? And you don't want them to feel like that. So
It's the worst
um
one.
yeah. So yeah, like I just, the one that's been involved in nothing is the one that you found. I'm so sorry. Like I just like everything that you're saying is so nice and I just feel like it's meant for somebody else, you know? Um so like but yeah, so all jokes aside, yeah, I think like being the person who wrote the lyrics and experienced the things that the songs are about, I think it'll be easier to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Um but like they are difficult conversations to have too because like I mean, dude, I'll just put it as blatant as like bluntly as I can. Like I'm not qualified
Hmm.
to have those conversations with somebody. Like it's one thing if it's um you're talking to somebody who's your friend or somebody that you have a rapport with, and they're like, I was feeling like this, and you're like, yeah, I was feeling like that, and you're like, isn't that the worst? It is. High five, you know. But like when it's somebody that you've never met before, and they
Yeah.
say something along the lines of like your music is the reason that I'm still alive,
Mhm.
like that's a really delicate because you don't actually know like where that person is
Yeah.
mentally. You don't know if like they're now feeling like they're on the other side of it and thank God for you, or if they're like this fucking close and
Cheating.
you don't yeah, and you don't want to be like you don't want to give them the wrong answer. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Or like God forbid you're having a bad day and like you just want to get back to the bus or the van or your room or whatever and somebody's just like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And you're like, "Sorry, man." You know what I mean? Like and like you don't know what that person's about to say to you and if it's going to be something important and like if you're not in the mental space to be able to handle a conversation like that, then it's like what responsibility do you have in whatever mood it puts that person in? You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
tough. Um but like all I can say is that like I I'm gonna do my best. You know what I mean? Because if
That's the
anybody's able to
answer.
relate, if anybody's able to relate to this stuff, then like I think all you can really do is to just be like I'm so glad that it helped you. Like like I'm really grateful that you're here and able to say these things to me and whatever. It feels like kind of a generic response, but like you know that's about all you can do when you're talking to
Yeah.
someone that you're meeting for 5 seconds at a meet and greet or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the flip side of that, if there is when there is heavy stuff that is going to be just presented to you whether you like it or not, how are you going to protect yourself from that heaviness? Like if someone is getting specific about what they had going on or have going on.
Yeah, I mean that's just something where I think, at a certain point it is um kind of the utmost importance that you're as honest with that person as you can be, of just be
Yeah.
like, listen, like I'm not trying to I'm not trying to shut you up. I'm not trying to tell you I don't care. I'm not trying to tell you that you shouldn't be expressing these things or that you shouldn't feel comfortable to express these things. But what I'm telling you is that I am not somebody who is qualified to give advice on things like this because I haven't experienced what you're experiencing. So for me to try to opine on what I think you should do or whether or not I think that, your feelings are justified or whatever it is, it's like it's irresponsible to try to be that person. So like please, if you're feeling that way, like find somebody who can help you. Like I'm glad, if the music is any sort of help and you connect with it on some level, that's amazing, but that's all I can do,
Mhm.
you know, and I might not say this, but the fact of the matter is it's an accident. You know what I mean? You like when you put your own emotions into a song that you write, it's a selfish thing. You know what I mean? It's just you saying I feel like this. It's not necessarily with the intention. And there are songs that are done with intention. Papa Roach doing that Leave a Light On song is amazing and it's been really impactful. And like, I mean, God, I wish I wrote that fucking song. Like it's such a good song. Um, like, good cause aside, it's just a great track. But like, you can write a song with that intention, but a lot of times if it's just coming from an internal place, you're not doing it with the thought of like, oh, like I hope I can help somebody else who's struggling with this stuff because I'm a doctor, you
Right.
know. So it's yeah, just going back to what I was like, it would be irresponsible of me to try to like advise in any sort of way or basically do anything other than just like give him a hug and say thank you. But it's basically just like, dude, like if this is something that you're like really struggling with, then please like get help. You know what I mean? Because like that's what you need, and I'm not that.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. What are some things that you do for self-care when you're struggling just with life and with the ups and downs that comes with it and the trolls that sometimes come out of the holes in the ground?
Yeah, I mean, luckily, no, I know what you mean. Luckily the trolls don't bother me so much these days. But,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, this is the biggest problem. You know,
yeah.
I've never been the most like I've never had the most self-esteem or self-confidence. Like I've struggled with my weight for my whole life. You know, basically until I got rid of my hair, it was a disaster forever. So like I was just
It
self-conscious
looks good.
all the time.
You have a
Uh,
good shaped head, which is nice because not everybody can pull that
yeah,
off.
I was very pleasantly surprised by that when I finally decided. I thought that when I decided to shave it, that it was gonna be like an adjustment period, and I was gonna be like kind of like freaking out for a while. But I did it the first time, and I looked in the mirror, and I was like, huh, all right.
Why didn't I do that before?
Like that's fine. And hold just real quick, if anybody out there listening, watching, whatever, is like, oh, like I don't know, is it time? Maybe not. Like whatever, because my hairline
It's
wasn't like terrible. Like I could feel a difference, but like other people couldn't really notice. If you're feeling it, dude, just do it. Just do it. It is the most liberating thing you will ever experience. I'm like, you like how often you go, you look in the mirror and you're like, God, my hair's a fucking met. Like I can't get it to do the thing, whatever. Whether I've had long hair, I've had short hair, I've had the whole fucking thing. So there's days where you're just not happy with it. Do you have any idea how incredible it is to look exactly the same from here up, no matter what? I could not shower for a week. I won't do that, but I could avoid showering for a week and I still look exactly the same from the shoulders up. It's amazing.
yeah,
So
good point.
it's one of the better choices I've made for my confidence. But like yeah, I was just, you know, I certainly wasn't a popular kid in high school. You know, as somebody who, like I said, have struggled with my weight for a long time in high school, that's a particularly difficult time to experience that kind of thing. And you know, like I didn't really find my like style as far as like fashion is concerned until adulthood. I didn't really come into my own in any sort of way until adulthood, which obviously that part is fairly common, you know, like sort of self-discovery and all that kind of stuff. That's more of an adulthood, young adulthood kind of thing. But, you know, just the wrong friends, quote unquote, you know, early on. And you just things that didn't contribute. They were not conducive to developing, you know, a healthy, you know, self-image or confidence level or anything like that. I mean, that's what Temple and Tomb is all about. It sounds like it's a song about substance abuse, but it's not. It's literally just me like I am eating dog shit all the time and I can feel it killing me and I can see the negative results and I hate myself all the time. You know, and like that's what that song is about is like that struggle. That's actually the first time I've said that out loud, and I know now that somebody's gonna hear it and just be like, "The song's about being fat." That's lame. But
No, I
yeah,
think a lot of people can connect with that too, just the self-image issue in
sure.
general.
Yeah, so like the and I know your question was about like you know self-care and you know kind of helping to get yourself out of those dark mindsets whatever. Unfortunately, I don't really know that I have the best answer for it. This has certainly helped, you know, being able to like write it down and put it in a song and feel like I've like expressed it and sort of let go of it in that way. But it's certainly not, you know, depending on the song or the subject matter, like it's not necessarily like, oh well, I did the song and now I'm good. You know, like I still struggle with those things, or if it was something that made me mad before, it'll still make me mad now. You know, it just it might just not be to the same degree necessarily, you know, if if I've been able to deal with it in that way. Um, but like the one thing that I have noticed, and this sounds um I don't actually have much of a problem with him, but like some people will roll their eyes and be like, "Oh, you've been listening to too much Joe Rogan." But like, just getting outside a little bit, like making sure that you get some sunlight every day, like trying to exercise, trying to socialize with people, even if you don't necessarily feel like you want to. Because like what I've noticed is that if I have a couple of days off, my instinct is just lock myself in my hotel room and stay there because I'm surrounded by people all the time. And
Yeah.
so it feels like sensory overload. But the thing is, if you go from sensory overload to complete isolation, like your mood just fucking plummets. And and then in my experience anyway, when you get there, it's really hard to get yourself out. It's really hard to even
Mhm.
motivate yourself to leave the room because that negative voice is winning. You know what I mean? It's just like, just give up, dude. This is just what life is. We're just gonna stay in bed forever, you know?
Right.
And then, I mean, another thing that helps me get through it is the fact that I have a family. I have kids, I have a life and a wife, and um uh like I have to be a
Mhm.
certain way, not saying that
Yeah.
like if you're a parent you should hide your feelings from your kids or whatever, but at the same time, like my kids are 7 and about to be 4. Like there's no
Oh,
reason I should be discussing body dysmorphia with them. You know what I mean? So and like they just, they need their dad. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So, a lot of times as a parent, you have to like put what you're feeling, whether it's exhaustion or depression or whatever it is, like you have to put it on the back burner for them. And um, sometimes that can be unhealthy because you might be suppressing feelings, but sometimes it can help you find ways to cope with things a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because you realize that like, wow, I was complaining about it, but the last 3 days that we spent, you know, working on the landscaping in the yard with the kids and like not having TV on the house or whatever, like I actually feel way better,
Yeah.
than I did before that. And honestly, man, like, diet does a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Even
Mhm.
at like whether I'm just eating healthy or if I'm just eating less, like if I'm really just not eating that much, and I'm not telling people to starve themselves, but like just for me, sometimes it helps, like because it's like a detox. When I'm, left to my own devices, dude, I ate 700 calories worth of gummy bears like an hour ago because it was here in the hotel room. You know what I mean? Like, and when that kind of thing happens, it's self-loathing
Yeah.
immediately.
Oh,
And so, but like when I can go for a while, or like if I'm in a country, like I go to Japan a lot. When I'm in Japan, dude, like
yeah.
everything is awesome there. And I'm like at the top of my game. Like I can eat my body weight every day, but I'm still losing weight and I feel good and I have energy and whatever. And I'm just like, this is what it's like to be Japanese, just healthy all the time. This is crazy. Um, so like I've at least found that the simpler things are what are most helpful for me, making sure I'm getting sunlight, making sure I'm getting fresh air, trying to exercise. I fail at that quite a bit. Trying to eat, as well as I possibly can, and not giving into like every single, like I'd like to eat something, like that urge to eat isn't necessarily hunger, like having to identify with that, um or distinguish that, is really helpful. But that being said, I also recognize that is a byproduct of how fortunate I am that I haven't had insanely bad mental health
Mhm.
struggles. You know what I mean? I've never really struggled with suicidal thoughts or anything like that. So, um, I don't know what that's like. And so I would never just like if somebody comes up and they've like, they're like, I've attempted to take my own life or something like that. I wouldn't be like, you should eat an apple. You know what I mean? Like that'll help. Take some vitamin D. You'll be all good. Slap on the ass. Have a good day, bud.
Oh,
But
get in, take a deep breath. You're good.
yeah, exactly. Right, right. Yeah. Fake it till it feels normal.
Right.
Yeah. You look so much more handsome when you smile. Um,
Oh
you know,
gosh.
yeah, dude. So some of that shit, like some of the condescending stuff is
Oh, it's
wild.
terrible.
Um, but yeah, so but for that reason, like it's almost difficult for me to try to answer these kind of questions. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
I know I'm just talking about myself, but like when you're talking in any sort of public forum where other people watch or listen or whatever, like inherently there's always the chance that somebody listening is going to go, oh, well, maybe that's what I need to do. And maybe it is, but
Mhm.
I'm like, please do not take me as like the authority on any of this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I've been qualified for one thing for the last like 15 years. I have no job history on my resume. Okay. There's no expertise here. Um, so like, please, consume, like drink responsibly. Like that's my word, like drink my words responsibly because like they're not worth much.
Oh my gosh. You're like balance between humbleness, humor, and struggle. I mean, you can definitely tell you struggle with self-esteem because of how you talk so down to yourself. You need to stop doing that.
I thought so that the last bit of that, like I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's where she was going. I genuinely thought you were going to be like, yeah, it's really clear that you have mental health problems because you're funny.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
and I wouldn't have taken offense to it because you're a professional, and a lot of people who make a lot of jokes are really mentally ill. But and I would have been like, yeah, that tracks. But
We
but I
all
was like,
are a
whoa,
little mentally ill. I think our environment and our way of life makes us all a little mentally ill, honestly. I really do believe.
yeah, we're certainly not, and I'm not an expert in this either, but I can tell that we are not designed for what we live in.
No,
You know what I mean?
absolutely not.
We haven't caught up to this shit yet.
Mm-mm.
It's weird.
No, and I talk about this sometimes. I do think that there is a collective trauma that happened worldly, which is so bizarre with all the COVID
Mhm.
stuff and trying to come back from that way of life that was a complete interruption in different lifestyle. And then we're turning around and trying to go back to whatever quote unquote normal is. And we just don't talk about it. We just, okay, now you're
Yeah.
back to the wolves. Go do it. Do you do the
Well,
stuff?
and also I feel like especially in the Western world, it was a big thing for because like I think, like I was talking to people that were in Japan during COVID and they were like, yeah, people aren't really like it's happening here, but people aren't really concerned about it. Like people aren't really pushing the vaccine nearly as much, like whatever, because stuff like not obviously not as bad as COVID, it's not as widespread, but like epidemics, respiratory epidemics happen a lot over in Asia. That's why mask culture is like such a prominent thing over there.
Yeah,
Like if you're on the public transit, you're just wearing a mask. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like it's just how it goes. Um,
for
and
sure.
so like to them, it was just like they were looking at the rest of us like first day, huh?
Right.
But like for us, especially in like the
Not me.
States yeah, uh, especially in the States and stuff, like we've gotten so used to, I mean, especially in my lifetime, like we've gotten so used to seeing bad things happen to other people.
Yeah.
It's on TV, it's on the news. I mean, even like I was,
Mhm.
I was in third, fourth grade when 9/11 happened. And like so I wasn't old enough to really process that. You know what I mean? So we're so used to just watching stories about horrible things happening to other people that we're so desensitized to it that like when COVID started hitting overseas and all the news was like, oh, like this could come here, it could be a problem. You're like, yeah, all right.
We're
You know what I
untouchable.
mean?
We'll be
It never
fine.
comes here.
All right.
Whatever the problem is, it's never here. You just look, everything's fine. Like it's here, you know? Um, and then it showed up and we were like, wait, what? Like, what do you us too? It's not supposed to be us too. It's all of those people. It's the ones
Yeah.
that we put it's the ones that we give bombs to and stuff. They're the ones with the problems, not us, you know? Um, so we got really used to like
Yeah.
not having like a real problem on our hands. And so
Oh.
then when it happened, I mean, half of us were like, this is the end of the world. Like this is like it's gonna wipe us all out. We're fucked. And then the other half of us were like, it's just a cold. It's a
Mhm.
scam, you know? And those two sides are not good at talking to one another.
No, no.
And all we had was social media, you know what I mean? And all we had was everyone who's an expert on everything. And you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and we had a lot of time, we had a lot of time to talk shit, a lot of time
Mhm.
to really ruin relationships and just say whatever
Oh
was
my
on our
God.
mind. Dude, I had a friend, it wasn't a close friend, but I had a friend who told me one time when I was still on Facebook, I made some post about like it was one of my calmer days where I was just like, none of us are going anywhere politically. Like maybe we should figure out how to talk about stuff. Maybe that would help. And I was told by this person that by espousing centrist rhetoric, that I was no better than the people who stood idly by while the Nazis hunted Anne Frank.
Oh,
And
wow, that's lovely.
yeah, right. And so it's like, well, first of all, no, not the same thing. Like, those aren't the same thing at all. But also, that's a very complicated thing to try to say to somebody. So I'm not even really going to touch it. You know what I mean? But like, that's the kind of shit that we say to one another. You know what I mean? Like, because we don't
Yeah.
have any, like, until COVID, we didn't have any actual problems over here. And now that COVID is largely over, at least as far as the world health crisis is concerned,
Mhm.
uh, everyone's just back to doing the same shit, back to not having any real problems and just,
Yeah, but
take
still, the
you.
fight is still immense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just, but it's just we've made enemies out of one another
yeah,
because we don't have any enemies at home. You know what I
right.
mean?
Huh.
Like,
That's a really interesting perspective. I've never thought about it that way, but that's very, very true in so many different ways. And that gave me some food for thought. I appreciate that because that's a different
yeah,
perspective I haven't thought
trust me, I'm
about.
a doctor.
Take your advice.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, uh, well, gosh, I hate to end that on a very dark time, but I know I've taken a lot of your time already.
No, it's
But
okay. It's okay. If I didn't have another interview coming up in a few minutes, I would say fuck it. Like it's just, you know what I mean? We can keep talking. So just, ask Amy or Shane for my email. We can do an interview
awesome.
anytime.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that because I definitely feel the same way. I'm like, I could still ask a million questions. But the music that you guys are putting out, incredible. Really, really excited to see what you guys do in the future and what you it sounds like you guys are still creating, still coming out with stuff. So I'm really stoked to hear what you have coming up. And yeah, definitely would love to chat with you another time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate all the kind words, and the somewhat diagnosis that I've been looking for a while.
You're not
So
a sociopath unless I start seeing like dead bodies where you're touring, trailing behind you, then
do
I think
sociopaths always murder somebody? Is that a
I
thing?
don't know if they always do, but I think it's something that they're pretty
It's like
confident
a
and
pretty
comfortable
common
with.
thing. Okay, all right, then maybe I didn't realize. Maybe I'm thinking of like a high. I think of like Sherlock, like
Like a
Benjamin Cumberbatch's
type A personality, I
high
definitely
functioning
think you
high
have.
functioning sociopath, whatever, like sometimes not always the most empathetic. But yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, so there we go. We lightened it up a little bit, made some jokes
Yeah.
about me again, so everyone doesn't have to end this
Yay,
going
jokes at your
fuck.
expense. That's what you need
Yeah,
moving forward
that's the
in life.
best. It's the best medicine for everybody, okay?
Uh, well, yeah, definitely would love to chat with you again. I hope that your quote unquote day off ends up being somewhat relaxing for you once you get done with all this stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
For sure. We'll talk to you later.
All right, see ya.
Bye.